Hello everybody, welcome to another EV Ramblings video. My name's Dustin, and today I am at Kia Victoria in gorgeous southern Vancouver Island to test out the brand new Kia EV6. Now if you don't know what the EV6 is, it is a larger style crossover vehicle. It comes in rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. It comes in a standard range of about 58 kilowatt hour of energy storage, or an extended range of just under 78 kilowatt hour. It also has various electric motor sizes, starting at about 125 kilowatt, going up all the way to just over 400 kilowatt. So this car can be equipped with massive amounts of power. It is a very sleek looking vehicle. It's designed on an entirely new platform that is being shared with Hyundai and also the Genesis brand. So they're anticipating a lot of vehicles to be built off this, and it is designed for battery electric only. So this is a different philosophy than what we've seen from Kia before. Now, before we get any farther, I would really like to do a huge shout out to Kia Victoria. I have to rely on dealerships to get into vehicles to review them. And right now, with the massive global car crunch, it's really hard to convince a dealer to lend you a car for a certain amount of time. Now, they have agreed to lend me this car for 24 hours. And not only that, but they had reached out to me. They had remembered that I had reached out to them in months and months in the past, and they said, hey, guess what? We actually have a vehicle and we want to get you in one. So they've been nothing but fantastic. I would encourage if you're looking for a vehicle, check out Kia Victoria. I know they're dedicated to the electric vehicle market as well. They helped me with the 2016 Soul that I tested out years and years and years ago. So I'm really happy to be back and really excited to get in this car. Now, I guess on that note, this will be different from other reviews I've done. Normally I only have about 5 or 6 hours, but since I have a full 24 hours, I'm going to be taking this vehicle right now out to do a photo shoot. I'm going to then just drive around, and then tomorrow I'll do the actual recording. So with that, let's get in the car. Alright, here we are inside the EV6. Let me just get microphoned up here and we'll be good to go. Okay, so yeah, like I said, this is the brand new 2022 Kia EV6. This is the GT2 edition. I'm going to apologize right now, anybody who's not living in Canada. They decided to change the naming and trim levels and everything between Canada and USA. So I'll be going by Canadian standards, but a lot of them you should be able to figure it out pretty easy. So with that, let's get the car started. So foot on the brake, power button. Confirm to driver safety. I have the navigation up right now. And now it did rain last night, so I haven't used wipers yet. So let's just see if I want to do a quick one. Yep. Nice. Easy. So, I have a lot to say about this car. I've already driven it yesterday for a few hours. And, well, let's get out of my driveway and I'll start talking about what I want to say. Well, I guess now is the prime time right now. There is a full 360 here. This is the GT2 edition, so you can actually go and see a live view of what's around you, which is pretty cool. I find that fascinating, actually. Let's leave it on. This is a very tight driveway to get out of. So, going out. And we are good. Okay, put the car in drive via this wheel down here. And good to go. Stop sign. Okay, this car. I was confused based on all the research I had done prior to this. Everything I read and viewed seemed to indicate to me that this was like a crossover segment vehicle. And it is not. I know in my intro I said this was a crossover. It's possible maybe they do say it like that, but I don't think so. I don't think there's in any way this can be made a crossover. This is a sports sedan. You do sit quite low in the car, And it's just, everything's laid out to be a very comfortable, luxurious sedan, which has insane amount of power. So with that out of the way, that this is a sports sedan, it's not a crossover. If you are looking for like a mini SUV or something, this isn't it. But if you're open to the idea of owning a sedan type car, this is a very compelling argument. I'm not sure I've driven a car, or an EV anyways, that's as put together as this one is. Now, I've watched all the reviews online, and I've been hearing common threads, and I don't think I agree with any of them. There's maybe a couple I agree with, but just to start off, like, it's so easy to drive this vehicle, and everything is just makes sense. It's super intuitive. You just get in, and you can just go. And there's nothing that like ever stands out as being like, this is not good or this is difficult to do. Everything is just easy and simple, and I think that's a beautiful thing about this vehicle. It's also incredibly quiet, based on sound, like noise dampening compared to other EVs. This one is it's up there on being the most quietest interiors I've ever had, and it's comfortable. I can see going on very long road trips in this vehicle. So the plan is today, now that we're in and moving, we're going to drive out towards Souk, BC. I'm just going to get a feel for the car and kind of a familiar road. I grew up out there, and I just want to see how it handles in the corners. I want to see how the driver aids work, and then we'll also talk about the exterior of the car. Now, interior, my first impressions and reactions so far. This car, I talk about this in other videos. There's two test styles of cars. There's kind of open and airy, and then there's wraparound. This is wraparound. Absolutely. This invites you to be one with the vehicle. And I personally don't mind that. I think that's totally fine. I've had many cars that do that. But in the other token, though, I know there's a lot of people who feel a little bit claustrophobic. And I think if you are one of those people, yeah, you probably will in this car. The roof line, like the front windshield, is very aggressive. It's raked quite a bit, so your head does come close to here. Once again, I've had other cars just like this, so totally used to it. And it's not a big deal, but if you aren't used to that feeling, it might take you a little while to get used to it. You do, and it ends up becoming a non-issue. The seats, especially the driver one, are crazy amount adjustable. I could adjust it however way I want, up, down, back, forward, tilt. So you could make this interior as comfortable as possible. I will also comment the rear. The headline is a little low, but when I'm in a seating position, I'm comfortable completely. So I'd say the interior gets like close to full marks. It makes a lot of sense in terms of comfort and just usability. So I already went over kind of what the EV6 is in my intro, but I didn't talk about the trims. And there's multiple trims available. Not all of them are available to purchase yet. This car is still too new, but they will be available hopefully in not too long. So the first one is the rear-wheel drive standard range. So that's about 58 kilowatt hour pack. And those 58 kilowatt hours, like, not all of them are going to be completely usable, but that's still a pretty good size. I would say for most people who are just using this as a city type commuter, then it would probably be a really good option. And the intro price is $45,000, which is very low. But as you step up, you start getting things that I think are really important. So the rear wheel drive long range edition adds a heat pump, at least in the Canada market. A heat pump is critical to reduce your energy consumption in colder temperatures. So for me, I'd say I would recommend the rear wheel drive long range. You also get the 77.2 or whatever it is kilowatt hour battery. So huge upgrade in the battery capacity as well, which makes a car far more useful for longer road trips. So personally, I would avoid the standard range myself. Now, once you get up again, you start getting to the all-wheel drive, and then you get into GT1 and GT2, and each one does add features that I personally want. You start getting like trailer electrical hookups because I tow things with my EVs, so I absolutely need that. You get things such as the sunroof, the 360 camera, a lot of the driver aids and assistance. So for me, if I was looking at the EV6, it would have to be the GT2, which is the top end trim. And that comes in at around 62,000 Canadian at this point. So that's a lot of money. And let me state, there are no cheap new EVs. The EV segment is expensive. But once you get into the car, if you're driving a lot, the savings can be tremendous. Okay, let's address some of the things that I think are really good on this car. I think the suspension is fantastic. It's supportive, but it absorbs bumps really well. It just smooths them out. So like I just went over a speed hump there, and it's so smooth. So the car does a fantastic job on there, and I've driven on some really bumpy roads and it just smooths them out. But when you get into corners and you need to turn, it really supports the car. So this is excellent when it comes to that. All right, here we are outside of the 2022 Kia EV6 GT2. So like I did in my previous Volvo video, and I'm continuing on this one, I'm just going to quickly just talk about the outside of it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is how it looks. It's a gorgeous car. It is incredible in person, and it just has kind of lines that you don't actually really notice when you're looking at it online. And the first one is, I'd say, is like these humps at the back here. When you're driving the car and you're looking out the rear view or the side view mirrors and you see these, it's just super cool. And I have to say, driving this around, when you see like a Tesla Model 3, the Model 3 looks actually quite plain. This has tons of style, and yeah, I think it's one of the best looking EVs on the market. So that's the style side of it. Now, there's a couple of things that I noticed, which I quite enjoyed last night in the dark. So I got home fairly late. I opened the door, and there's light that emits from up here, which illuminates all around the side of it, which was incredibly useful because I was actually in a tight spot. So I was able to see, oh yeah, there's something right there. And I haven't had a vehicle that's had that before, but I thought that was amazing. And you had no idea it was there. So awesome. Love that. Now, getting in and out of the car, just to give you an idea, is pretty straightforward. It's a fairly level entry. You're in, and then getting out, there's a handle if you want, but I don't need it. Step out. Rear of the car is equal the same, although the floor is a little bit taller. And the window here is a nice little entry point of extra light. So, good job. Moving to the back of the car. Trunk opens with a push of a button. And it does open very tall. So easy to get things in and out. And then obviously closes again just with the push of the button. One thing to note about the trunk, it does have quite a low level to put stuff into, so you don't have to push anything over. So, and if I lock the car, the handles will close, mirrors will come in. And similarly, it'll recognize when you get closer. So I don't think there's much else to say about this. If you're wondering about height, I am 5'10", so it's not the tallest car in the world. This one does have the sunroof, which is completely hidden on the black model. Something that's it's pretty cool. But I think we need to get back to driving. So let's go back in the car and I'll talk more about it. Okay, so what is it like driving this car? It's fantastic. It accelerates so well. It handles excellent. Everything makes sense. It's all there. It's an excellent package. You will have to get used to a couple Hyundai things, such as their Regeneration. It's controlled through paddles to the steering wheel, And it has something called one-pedal driving, which they refer to as iPedal. The car will never start in iPedal though, so every time you turn it on, the vehicle on, you do have to re-engage iPedal, but that's just by using the paddle to go down to its lowest setting. And I find that the regenerative one-stop works quite well. It's not as aggressive as in some other vehicles, so you do have to plan a bit, but otherwise also you can just use the brake pedal as well. I find that planning though, like braking further out, maximizes your amount of energy that you can regain, so it's kind of nice that they are forcing you to do that here to get into that better practice. So this is, though, the car. I don't know, I'm a little bit lost for words because it's just so good. It's so smooth. And this is probably the best EV I've ever been in. So I guess talking about some of the interior now. This little screen down here, it works as your climate control and also as your audio control. So there's a little button here which switches between it. So I'm now on the climate setting and I have the climate off, but I'm just going to go into auto climate. And there's a little button here. I love this, that Kia does this. It's driver only. So if you want to just cool or heat the driver area to maximize your energy efficiency, just hit that button and you're good to go. And then it's just a matter of setting your temperature. So right now I'm at 21 degrees Celsius. Just turn this, different climates. Turn this dial for the temperature on this side, that dial for the temperature on that side. And I'm gonna hit driver only again because I turned that. I've seen a lot of people complain that they don't like that this is buried. And I don't understand the complaint after being in the car. Doesn't really make sense to me. But for me, in a modern vehicle, I've had several cars now that have the auto climate. You just set your temperature and it just figures it out. If it needs to use air conditioning, it uses AC. If it uses heat, and it uses heat. And then I leave it. So I don't see why I would need to just have constant access to my temperature control. Now, I guess it's a possibility you might have a reason, but I don't. So I'm absolutely fine just to have that disappear. And it's super easy enough to just get it over and adjust it and it all makes sense. I have heard of also people complaining that they hit these buttons up here by accident. I have yet to do it. I don't see any possible way. You don't rest your hands there. This is high enough up. Like, I don't see why you'd rest your arm to push those buttons. So I don't think that's an issue. And I know there's been a couple of reviewers that have really focused on that, and I don't think that's a concern whatsoever. Screen visibility. So I do have the heads-up display right now, which doesn't work very well with polarized sunglasses. Works really well without it. I can still see it, it's just faded a bit. But the heads-up display, I have it, well, here, if we go into a couple settings here. Vehicle. So you could have an augmented reality, you could have it off, or you could have a standard mode. Standard mode is just more of lines and stuff. Augmented reality does things such as showing you navigation. It also will show you if there's someone beside you, like with a little warning, and it shows the speed limit of the area. So I like the augmented reality mode one, so I'll just keep it on that. Now this display here, I do wish there was some customization options here. You really just have your speedometer on the left, your range on the right. Now, with the heads-up display, you don't really need to see that. Cars without it, you do need to see that. And it can be obstructed based on where your steering wheel is. So I would have preferred, I think, a more central display of the speed, and then the other things showed on the side. But I still have yet, the way I have placed my comfortable driving position, had a point where I can't see that. So maybe a concern on where your steering wheel is, maybe not. That's something you just have to try. Switching between driving modes is very easy. There's just a button on the bottom of the steering wheel here, and it changes the screen. The screen does kind of change based on what mode you choose, so eco, normal, or sport. Sport gets this really aggressive. It's still the same thing, but it has like red on it and stuff, so I guess it makes you think that it's fast, which it is, granted. And I just put it in eco mode, and I was immediately floored by how much slower the car is. So I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe you do, maybe you like eco mode. It's definitely a far more relaxed mode. So let's talk about rapid charging. And this is Kia advertises some pretty crazy numbers that you can get. I can't remember what it is, like up to close to 80% in like 18 minutes or something. And that's phenomenal. And this car has incredible rapid charging technology in it. I'm going to put a graph up right now. But basically, if you could find a charger that's capable, you can get over like 200 kilowatts of charging from 0 to about 55%, which is phenomenal. Like that would take almost no time at all to charge the car. Now, once you hit the 55% up until about 80%, you're sitting at around 150-ish kilowatt hours. And I'm doing this by memory, so I'm sorry if I get something wrong. And then after about the 80% mark, then it steadily drops down to about 35 kilowatt. So the one key thing, and this is with all EVs with rapid charging, you get the fastest speed the lower the battery is. So that means that to take advantage of that, you have to drive the car down to a very low state of charge. Unfortunately, rapid charging stations are still, there's quite a lot of them, but there's not enough of them. And so you may have to stop sooner to charge, which means if you stop when the car is at 50%, you're not going to get that huge, massive speed to get you back up to 80. So just understand that, and also understand that speed or temperature, outside temperature, impacts it. If it's really cold, your charge rate will slow down. Now, with that all said, at least in British Columbia, a lot of the charging rapid infrastructure peaks out at 50 kilowatt hours. So at 50 kilowatt, this car far exceeds that. So you'll basically be able to get 50 kilowatt from 0 to 80% or 85%, which, like, compared to my Chevrolet Bolt, is unheard of. Like that, I'd be in absolute heaven if I could get that on my Bolt. But that means, though, that with this car with about 78 kilowatt hours of storage, if you're charging at 50 kilowatt, that means it's going to, after 1 hour, you're only going to get 50 kilowatt, which is still a lot. That will give you hundreds of kilometers. But just know, like, what you're getting into. So with that said, that this car has the capability to be one of the fastest charging on the market. Okay, so now let's check the speed. So I have it in sport mode. I'm about to enter kind of a little souk highway here, and I'm gonna go full throttle. Whoa! Wow! That is fast. I don't want to speed, obviously, so I let off there, but that was ridiculous. So this is a sports car with 4 doors. And yeah, I'm comfortable saying that this is a sports car. Okay, well, let's turn on some of the driver assist. So I'm going to turn on this little automatic steering, I think, and follow. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I put on cruise control, distance, and automatic steering. So I am just lightly holding the steering wheel. I'm going to try and increase, do I increase my speed? One of these buttons? There we go, that one. Nope. Okay, yeah, left one is to increase the speed. So it's doing really well right now. But this is a pretty simple test here, this road. Now I'm ready to take over if I need to. And with these driver assists, you should always be on the ready. Now this is a very difficult road. There's a lot of turns. I'm not doing any input into the steering wheel. And it is doing really well. It's anticipating quite a bit ahead. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so the actual test is going to be this corner up here. It's really sharp. The Volvo XC40 Recharge, though, didn't get through that part. It was slopping a bit on the corners. It did great on the 4 lanes. Didn't do well in here, and this car is doing really well. Okay, so here we come. This is the difficult one. Yeah, no, it's too much. So I'm driving through a construction area right now. The road is very rough. And the car is reacting, obviously, to that, but it smooths it out. This is a really comfortable car. And honestly, I don't think anybody could find fault with how this handles. And it's not too rigid, it's not too soft, it's right in the perfect zone. And this car really does remind me of, it has multiple different hats depending on the drive mode. Like normal, it does feel just like a really great put together car that you just get in, you drive, it does everything perfectly, quietly. It's just, this, like, if I was commuting in this, it would be incredible, fantastic. But then you move it over sport mode, and it does become a sports car. And this car is styled as a sports car. How low the window line is here, how everything kind of wraps around you, just the exterior style of it. This car looks fast, and it is fast. So you're getting kind of 2 in 1, and the fact that it does all this, obviously as a full battery electric vehicle, you're getting all those benefits that provides. So yeah, I really like this car. Really like it. Now, I think the question has to be, though, would I buy it? And before I answer that, let's talk about which model I would buy if I was to buy it. If I had to get one, it would be the GT2. Sorry. If I had to buy, if I was going to buy one, it would be the top-end GT2. And yeah, it comes with a couple things that I don't need, but it has all the other stuff I want. And it does come in at about $62,000, which is a lot. I said earlier, there are no cheap EVs on the market. But when you compare this to competitors, so what I see as a competitor to this car is the Polestar 2 and the Mustang Mach-E. So if I'm comparing to those, this actually comes in significantly less than those two models. And this is based on a brand new platform, it has the latest tech. The Mustang Mach-E in the trim that I would get, that's equivalent to this, it does have a 91 kilowatt hour battery, so it comes with a bigger battery in that setup. It's a lot more money, like a lot more than this. So even though this car comes in at about $62,000 on this trim, dare I say it is still a bargain. Which, a little bit mind-blowing from somebody who's been buying cars for a while, but yeah, I can see the value of getting this. And a lot of the other vehicles, there's options and there's stuff that I don't see value in, or it makes the price go up far more than I would like. So if you're prepared to own a car that does like everything that this does, which is it does it really well, this is probably the best thing going on the market at the moment. Now, would I actually buy one? That's the key, isn't it? Is this something that I would own? Now, hear me out. The answer is no. For myself, me 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 100%. I would buy this. Or, you know, if I was in the market, maybe if I was a little bit older and I was like had those feelings to buy a Corvette, yeah, this does it. But for me at the moment, I want something that's more SUV-like for my next vehicle. And like I want that more upright seating position. I am towing things with it. I know this would do it really well, but I do want something that I could take on like a fire road, or just have more of a truck or SUV-like feeling. And that's not what this is. And this isn't trying to be that. So it really depends on where you are in what you want in a vehicle, like what style you want. So if you are looking for like an SUV style car, this isn't it. But if you are looking for a really stylish, fun to drive, powerful sedan, well, maybe, yeah, it is a sedan, but sports car, then yeah, this needs to be on your list. So what does the EV6 have going for it? Well, it comes in rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which I already mentioned. It can be available in a big battery to get you well into over the 300 kilometers per driving, 400 kilometers in good conditions. It handles beautifully. It looks fantastic on the outside. It has buttloads of power in the GT trim. Way more than anybody needs. And even though this is a long car, like it is, it turns really good tight turning radius. This is an excellent package of a vehicle, and it looks like the future in here. Everything is in a place that makes sense. I haven't gone hunting for anything, so yeah, this is pretty awesome. This screen, I like the size of it. I like the placement of it. I don't have to look down like as much as a screen that's mounted the other way. So I feel that it's probably even a little bit safer to use. And I have had zero issues with glare. Now I guess actually let's open the sunroof. So we're going at a decent speed. And it's so nice to have fresh air and get direct sun on my face right now. That feels good. But it's not. I've added sunroofs to cars aftermarket, and usually it's a horrible idea because they're so loud, and the car wasn't designed for it. This is really nice. If I open one of the windows. Now this car does have these little guards on the outside for like rain, but it does a pretty good job of channeling the air. You don't get any buffeting. Even just with the sunroof open and the windows closed, no buffeting at all, which is really nice. Now there's also a shade, so I'll close this. There's a shade. So you want it to be dark inside here. Just comes over and it's blacked out. Now you can also pop it, push it. So most sunroofs have this function. So this is just if you want fresh air coming in, but you don't want the sun directly coming at you. And with that pop, there's hardly any extra sound, just a little bit of wind noise. And then you figure close it, and then open the shade. So all makes sense, all easy to access. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording last night. I should have, but the interior lighting in this car is really cool when it's dark out. So it illuminates like these cup holders on the sides, various areas on the dash, and it's just a really neat place to be in at night. So good job, Kia, on that. And it was something that I don't think anyone's talked about, but it is the interior lighting while you're driving is really good. It's not distracting at all. It's just a really nice highlight of certain areas of the car. One of the more surprising things I've found with this car is the visibility. It is really good, and I didn't think it would be, just based on the outside style of how aggressive it looks. Now, the windows aren't like massive or anything, but it all makes sense. Now, there is some visibility things, though, that you will have to get used to. This pillar, because this is such a slanted, really long front window here, this does get in the way for when you're turning left to see what's there. It's easy enough to look around, though. Now, if you are changing lanes, though, and you're really used to doing shoulder checks, most cars, like a sedan or a four-door like this, I can look through the back window easily. I can't easily with these seats. If I lean over, rubberneck and round, then I can see, but it's not just a quick glance. A quick glance doesn't give me anything. And no one's coming, no one's around me. So this car has a cool feature. If I put the left blinker on, it'll show me a view from the camera of what's beside me, and same with the right side. I'm not sure the camera can pick that up or not, but that has been game-changing. So I'm using the mirror, using that little there, and if I really want to, I can look around. But there's lots of assistance here to make sure that I have no blind areas. And that back window, it is once again small, but it isn't really obstructed, and I could have still a really good view of what's going on out there. So yeah, like they have done a really good job planning this car out and designing it. If you're new to the EV market, thinking about buying an EV, the Kia EV6 will blow your mind. Absolutely. If you are a seasoned EV driver like I am, you're still going to really appreciate what it does. And if you're driving like a Nissan Leaf or a Chevrolet Bolt, or even like the Hyundai Kona, you are going to notice a step up in what this car does compared to those ones. It's just far more refined. It has way better power delivery, and it just drives better. So this is a big upgrade. Okay, let's get to the main question here. If you're considering this car, you probably are considering the Ioniq 5. And you should. They're built on the same platform. They say they have the same battery, they kind of the same motor configuration. The screens are the same. Like, a lot of the things are the same. But then they diverge rapidly, though. The overall shape and package is very different from both of them. This one's a very round, curved, aggressive car. The Ioniq 5 is very flat and square and retro. And they have different philosophies. The Ioniq 5 looked at, from an EV ownership perspective, what you would want. So they have things such as like a rest for your feet when you're sitting there charging, and they have space where you can slide it back. Whereas this car, it's very obvious after driving it now, the philosophy is for the driver. Like, this is a driver's car, which it does really well. Like, this is something that you would just have tons of joy driving, and I do driving it. It's fantastic. So that doesn't help answer, though, what you should buy between the two of them. I think for practicality's sake, the Ioniq 5 is probably a better choice. But style's sake, the EV6 is a much nicer car in what it looks like. The Ioniq 5, I've seen many of them in person now. It is cool. A lot of the retro features and those like bold designs, like the big slash in the side panels, they don't actually show up in person. The car disappears a bunch, and I was really surprised by that when I saw it. Whereas this car, it stands out. Like, it is a statement, and the amount of people that rubberneck this car is ridiculous, and a lot of them are EV owners. I live in an area where there's EVs everywhere, and it's amazing how many people in a Tesla have been like, what? I even had one guy follow me. Like, he turned around and he was just like following me. So the EV6 just catches attention like you wouldn't believe, and for good reason. It's gorgeous. The Ioniq 5, I think it catches attention right now because it's gotten so much press, but it's not a bold design, I would say. It's far more subdued than I thought, and so that might help you decide like whether you want to be the attention grabber in this car or not. But given how this car is styled and how it's designed and how it drives as a driver's car, this is the way to go. This is the car that you can just go on an epic road trip or an epic drive and just carve the corners, but then also just be so comfortable for your commute and doing all those other things. So I think Kia really nailed it on this one, so excellent job. So I don't know what else I can really say about the car. It's fantastic. The EV6 is a beautiful vehicle that's designed great, drives great, handles great, does everything well. Deciding factor is going to be if you want a sports sedan or not, in terms of styling, this and how you sit in the car and how it's designed. This is a sporty vehicle designed that way. If that's what you're looking for, yeah, you need to drive this car, and you probably need to buy it. The value is there. If you're looking for a upright driving experience, that's more closer to like a mini SUV. This isn't it, and you should probably look elsewhere. This is, though, it is, I can see owning this car, and I'm coming up to having to return it. And I said earlier that I wouldn't buy this car because I'm looking more for an SUV, but yeah, I don't know. It's doing everything so well, and it looks so good that I can see myself owning this 100%. It looks good in my driveway. So even if you are kind of looking for that more SUV sitting type vehicle, I would still encourage you to go and give this one a try. Give it a test drive, see what you think, see if you like it. It's incredible how precise this vehicle is. Everything I'm doing, like the steering wheel, the accelerator, it just feels totally natural. And that's a good thing. I'm not guessing at anything, it's just, I'm telling it what to do, it's doing it exactly as I expected. And the regen system. I'm using the iPedal right now. So actually, here's an example. I'm going to be slowing down up here to make a left turn. So I'm letting off the accelerator a bit, getting to this lane. I'm going to have to stop, so I'm going to start letting off a little bit, let off, let go, and then stop. So it's good. It's smooth. It's not nearly as aggressive as a lot of other that are on the market that I know some people don't like. And I have the ability, if I put the paddle all the way a bunch, to turn regeneration completely off, so it's just free rolling. This is a feature that Kia and Hyundai both use. It's unique to have this system, and I like it. It's really easy. I like that they're behind, but I do find that I drive the car for the most part in the I-pedal mode. And I'm gonna come up to their stop here. So I'm gonna let go of the accelerator just a tiny bit, let go completely, stop, and then put my foot on the brake. So it works really well. Okay, ownership. So I've talked about the cost of this vehicle and how it's a really good value, but I do understand that at, let's say, this trim, the GT2 at about $62,000 is expensive. It's a lot of money. Yes. But if you are driving a lot, and if you are driving a combustion vehicle at this time, there's a lot of savings to be had there going to a vehicle like this. Just the operating costs, so maintenance and the cost of electricity, are very low. And there's a lot of articles you'll see online where people are being like, oh, it's just expensive to drive a gas car. It's not. It's not even close. So if you find that, let's say you're doing $100 worth of gas a week, then this car pays for itself almost. And if you're doing $50 of gas a week, well, that pays for a good chunk of what the financing would be on this. And then add like your maintenance savings, because there is very no low maintenance on all battery electric EVs. It's hard to justify not buying one. So definitely look at your savings overall before you say this car is too expensive. Final assessment of the 2022 Kia EV6 GT2. It's incredible. It's the best EV I've driven. I like to be in a vehicle that stands out, and it does, in a really good way. It's fantastic. I love all the tech around it. I think it has the right battery size and the right range and the very right charging speeds to make it a car that literally everybody can own. It does everything so well. The ride is plush and nice and soft when you need it, but responsive when you need it as well. This is an incredible vehicle. So thank you everybody for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. This is just something that I do on the side as a hobby. I'm not trying to be entertaining in any way. I'm just trying to give people an idea of what certain cars are like to drive. And I focus on electrified vehicles. So if you did like it, found it useful, please like the video. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. I try to be active. It's hard to find a vehicle right now given the big global shortage. But yeah, with that, if you have any questions, write it in the comment. I try to answer every question that's there, and I'll help you out in any way I can. So thanks, happy driving, and hopefully you come back.